Well, good evening, everybody. This is Pastor Rob and Pastor Minga here with the Imperfect Unity podcast. Pray you guys have had an amazing day today and that you guys are ready for an awesome show. I think we're going to have an amazing show. What's going on, Mr. Elizabeth? How you doing tonight? Just waiting a few minutes as people come on. Now tell me, how's my sound? Great, awesome. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Amen. Amen. As everybody's coming in tonight, pray you guys had an amazing day. If you did, give me a thumbs up in the chat. I hope you guys got your notebook and your pencil and everything that you need for tonight, because tonight's going to be an awesome show. Don't you think, Pastor?
Amen. It is going to be great.
So tonight we're talking about fighting fair. What you think about that?
I think it's going to be fun to do and listen as we learn to fight fair right now.
So our disclaimer is always this: we trying to achieve. You know what I mean? So we ain't there yet for anybody wanting to hold us to perfection. However, this is something that we've been working on, and that when we went to a military conference, you remember that? They had asked all the married couples if they wanted to go on a vacation. And we was like, hell yeah, we want to go on a vacation. And they put us up in a hotel for 3 days. They didn't tell us that we had to go through military relationship training first. Remember we did that with the chaplain?
Yes, I do. I really do.
So why you say that? Why you say it like that?
Because you wasn't prepared.
I wasn't prepared. I don't understand what you're saying. Why wasn't I prepared?
Because they wanted us to talk and actually have some learning how to communicate. And some of the men just kind of wanted to hang out and
I thought we was having a vacation. They tricked us.
That is a vacation. That is a vacation. That's a great vacation.
No, they wanted us to talk.
See, that's the problem right there. This is the problem.
So you think that part of our issue is we don't like to talk?
No, for your issue, you don't like to talk. I love to talk.
Well, look, I'd like to know from maybe all you ladies can help me understand, how come every time I get in my car and I want to listen to my music, that's when y'all want to talk? That's when I get a phone call right in the middle of my good song. I'm like at the top of my voice, yeah. And then all of a sudden, ring.
Because I knew you was happy.
You felt my happiness. Oh my God, somebody is happy right now. Elizabeth say we have a captive audience. You are, yeah. I bet I'm sitting there almost in tears, like, yes, baby. Yes, I want to hear my song.
The song that you've been listening to 100 times.
Exactly. You got to get it into my spirit.
Yes.
So, guys, if you hear me, great. If you coming on, give me a thumbs up. Hey, Minister Alberta, how you doing tonight? It's good to see you. I hope my uncle's listening. We got some good stuff for you guys tonight. Get your pens and your paper ready.
Right. Amen. But we also want to make a disclaimer. I always like to make this disclaimer. What works for us works for us. This is not the end all to marriages.
That's right.
And what works for you works for you. So if you can get some wisdom, if you can get a little bit of an understanding, if we can help in any kind of way, that is our whole purpose, is to be a blessing. We are not here to tell you how to do you.
That's right. I like that. We're not here to tell you how to do you. Only you can do you. You got to do you the best you can.
Here you go. Okay.
Well. So I first so we're talking about fighting fair, and when I think about fighting fair, I think about when you're in a fight with someone. And one time I was in middle school, and this guy was like, he wanted to fight me. He wanted to fight me so bad. And so I was like, come on, then let's do this. Let's do this. And so we went to fight, and then all of a sudden he kicked me. And I said, hold on, I thought we were fighting. He was like, I am fighting. I said, no, you kicked. That's not a part of the rules.
There's a rules in fighting.
Yes.
And professional fighting, but not street fighting.
Well, I felt like he broke the rules when he kicked me. So
well, how would he know that if you didn't tell him the rules at the beginning?
See, that's where I was going. You've got it. You're following me now. My point was, when you're fighting with your spouse, and then I guess we need to be careful with that term fighting, because it's not just fighting, but there's always going to be conflict in a relationship. But we need to have established rules before we go into, you know what I mean?
I agree with that, but don't we have to decide? Should we establish that? Are we fighting, or are we just having a discussion?
Well, it's totally different.
Right.
The discussion is different, and sometimes the discussion can end up in fighting. But
that is for sure.
We use fighting fair as a way to, make it a popular title. But we're talking about conflict resolution, and in a marriage, first thing you need to have, you must have established rules to when you go into a conflict, and these rules must be established before the conflict. These rules have to be established in peacetime. Right? You can't start during wartime and try to change the rules, because it don't work that way. The rules must be established during peacetime. That means the time when you guys are just talking about how you're going to handle conflict, how you're talking about before you even get married, you're talking about how we're going to handle conflict. And so those are established rules. You agree?
I agree. I completely agree.
Right. So I got 15 rules we're going to talk about. 15 rules for fighting fair. The first rule is to pray. It's to pray. And prayer gets our eyes off the situation and fixed on Christ. Our heart and our head are more aligned to what God's agenda is, and rather than our own agenda. And we go into it knowing that this is a daughter of God and this is a son of God, and we're part of God's family. And God doesn't want me to treat his daughter unkindly, and God doesn't want you to treat his son unkindly. So we're going in to this conflict with prayer. And that's before we have an established time where we're going to sit down and talk, like, hey, we need to talk about something. So you know that you got to bring up an important issue to me. Then probably the first thing to do is pray before you bring that issue, and vice versa. We need to pray. Why you look like that right now? Y'all should see this look on her face. Like, why would anybody have a look about praying? I don't know. So go ahead and explain your look.
Because that's a discussion, that's a premeditated discussion that you want to have. That's like when we went to that when we used to do the elephant in the room, where if you put the elephant on the bed and let you know that, hey, babe, we need to have a discussion. But typically a fight just happens, or a heated discussion usually just happens. So I guess I'm trying to figure out, when do we come together? Like, usually, like when we get into a heated discussion, like we haven't prayed like before. Like I may be praying in the midst.
Okay.
But so I think I'm looking at it differently.
Right. And I guess that it goes back to being prepared for when we go to this place where we say, all right, I need to have a conversation with my wife, or I need to have a conversation with my husband. And when we sit down and say, hey, babe, let's talk about something real quick. And before we talk about it, can we just pray? And it does kind of seem awkward. And if it's awkward to you, then maybe there's something that you need to do prior to it. But we must pray. And I just want to remind you guys that the prayer line is open. So if you want to call in, you're welcome to call in. And not the prayer line, I'm sorry. The phone lines are open. You just click on those chairs at the top, and we'll let you in. So do you understand what I'm saying though?
I do understand what you're saying, and that's a definite point. I know one thing that one class that you talked about. Hey, how did I feel about that class? What I learned from that was that when you come home from work, because there is a fair way of doing things when you come home from work, not bombarding you with a bunch of information or a bunch of stuff that happened throughout the day that's not so great. You know what I mean?
Right.
But allowing you to come home and get settled and say hello and say the greetings and get to and eat and kind of get your mind right, and then say, hey, I would like to talk to you, at some point today about some business we need to take care of. And that's something that, as a young wife, I did not know that, going in, as far as fighting fair. It would just be like, this
Yeah.
bill came in, this happened, that happened, the kids did this, the school, and there would be an instantly, a defense,
Yeah.
and me loading, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than greeting one another and acknowledging and loving on one another first. I think that
Right.
was one of the great things that I did learn, from that military style,
Yeah. Yeah.
of vacation slash marriage counseling
Conference
conference.
counseling.
I loved it.
It was good. It was good.
It
I
was
mean,
good. I
they
was
did a
pregnant,
great job.
and so
You was
I
pregnant.
was I was very much pregnant, and so I was very much
And if you wasn't pregnant, you would have been pregnant by the time we left.
okay.
I'm
So
just saying,
okay,
this is a grown folks call.
right, yeah, yeah. We can go on and on about that, but I'm trying to behave myself. But yeah, so being in the what I liked is that you were challenged and you couldn't run. Like the minister, I think he was a
He was a
Catholic
chaplain. Yeah.
He was a Catholic chaplain, I
Yeah.
think. But how he challenged you to think
Mm-hmm.
outside the box, and to see you, because you speak very well, and you know your view on
Yeah.
things, but he had a way of challenging you to see it from my point of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Without taking my side, but saying, can you see how she could see or feel this? And it made you think a little bit, and
Right.
and vice versa for me.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I think we left that conference on better people, and better in marriage. So, the next one, I hear you don't have your headphones, Elizabeth, but if you type in any questions and stuff, we'll read it up for you.
Definitely.
I see you said one may see it as a fight, while the other see it as a discussion.
I'm like this. It's a fight. If your voice get elevated to a point that I feel defensive, it's a fight. So that means we always fighting, because y'all talk loud here in Louisiana.
So do you want to read the second one?
Oh, sure. The second one says, don't mirror unfair fighting in marriage.
Okay, so don't mirror unfair fighting in marriage. What do you think that means?
Well, okay, so I can take it to mean two different things. Meaning, don't mirror the other person. If the person's with don't match their emotion with your emotion. Don't
Yes.
match
Right.
their level of frustration. It's like someone has to kind of come to a level
Right.
head to keep us focused and keep us um, keep it from elevating into a place that it doesn't need to be in.
Right.
Or you can look at it as mirroring. Rules of mirroring unfair marriages is how we've seen maybe our family members
Yes.
marriages, or our friends, and see how they've handled things, and we know it didn't go to a good place. So definitely don't mirror that. If they consider fighting, putting hands on each other, you definitely don't want to mirror that.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So
Definitely, we don't want to. If the person that you're talking with, if they're losing their temper and you see them getting angry, your job is not to go to that place as well, because if you go to that place, it's just going to get even more. The argument's going to get even more out of control. So, like you said, one of us have to maintain balance, and it's okay, because you'll find that every time you're in an argument, or even as the argument goes on, one person may get a little more agitated than the other, and then that'll switch, and that's okay. It's okay to get agitated, but we have to fight fair, right? So part of the problem that we see is a person that gets angry, they basically dominate the conversation because they're intimidating the other person to listen to them and to believe like them or to sound like them. And then it becomes where you're backing someone into a corner with your words and with your actions and your body language. Because I think body language plays a huge part in a conversation.
Definitely. I think well, that part that you just said about trying to intimidate the other person. I think sometimes everybody, not everybody, but sometimes people just communicate differently. And sometimes even though if a person is not feeling heard, or you know what I mean, or feeling understood, and sometimes that can get, make them feel agitated, or if they, it's just so funny because if you're having a discussion with somebody or an argument with somebody, and like say you say something and they stay right in that one word or that one thing that touched them, and they can't leave that, and you stay in, so then you end up getting agitated because you feel like, okay, everything that I said, you're only focused on the one thing, when there's so much more than what I said, than what the whole argument was about. And so then you feel like you didn't resolve the issue because we stayed in that one word, or say you say a cuss word or something, and the person just, I can't believe you cussed that. Why you using profanity, and then you never go past right there.
Right.
And so it's being able to navigate that and hearing that person out, like, why did that bother them so bad that you cussed that instead of why we're arguing. So I think sometimes I think people sometimes feel intimidation is not the really it's trying to intimidate, but some people are just passionate in the way they speak. But like you said, is body language, facial expressions.
Right.
What did we learn? Like and everything that you say, that very little is about the words, but it's
everything.
It's very little about the words, but it's the body language and the tone.
Exactly, the tone. And specific words will gather different reactions within a person. So if I say fighting, then we're like, okay, we're in a fight. That's a whole total different stance than us saying we're in a discussion.
It is.
You see what I'm saying?
Because I think in a fight you're defensive.
Yeah, right. If you I'm waiting to get punched.
With words,
right,
or guilt or shamed, or you know what I mean. But if we're having a discussion, we're having a meeting of the minds,
right.
And what's that word you hate that I used to say? Let's agree to disagree.
Oh, I hate that one. Alberta said, "Don't do meanness for meanness," and that's totally good. Right. We Perfect. Can't do meanness for meanness, and we can't try to one up the person. I kind of feel you ladies kind of do that very well. Where you like, if I ain't getting the reaction that I want to get, then I'll get angry. I'm gonna go ahead and accept our first call. Hello. How you doing?
Hello. I was just trying. I didn't know if anybody could hear me or not. Can you hear me?
Don't hear you yet, buddy.
You got jokes? Hello.
Okay, well, we'll just move on. Maybe get in there in a little bit.
Now, you think us ladies do what? Get a we want a reaction. I do want a reaction.
So you want a reaction?
I do. I don't want I know for me, I don't want nobody yelling and screaming, and that's not what I'm looking for, the reaction. I want to know that you're understanding my irritation or my frustration. But there's nothing like talking to somebody that is a stone wall,
right?
And you're crying or you're frustrated, or whether it's about the kids or whatever, and you're not matching me. It's like you don't have to be irate or anything like that, but hey, you know what, I feel what you're saying right there. I can't believe they didn't do such and such homework, didn't get that, whatever it is. But when it's just like a blankness, I think that for me that frustrates me even more, because it makes you feel like you're in this alone. Like, do you not understand? Whereas the women I feel like women, not all women, but I feel like I can match. Not if you're frustrated about something, I'm like with you. I'm right there with you.
Right.
But you're very calm. You're very very calm.
I try to be, at least.
Well, the outside, I don't know what goes on the inside.
The verse in Proverbs says this is Proverbs 26:4. It says, "Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or
Yeah.
you yourself will be just like him."
Ooh.
Right. So, in those conversations, those arguments, discussion slash fighting,
Mm-hmm.
um, when you respond the way they respond,
Yeah.
then you both are just the same,
Right.
right? And I think that goes also for passive aggressive type of stuff too. I myself don't like the passive aggressive stuff. I'd rather you cuss at me than be passive aggressive. You know what I mean? Like go in a room, slam the door.
Who do that?
Every time you walk by me, you say something
Who do
under your
that?
breath, but
I can't.
won't tell me what you said. I ain't saying no names.
I don't know what he's talking about. But anyway.
The passive aggressive. Any guys out there know what I'm talking about the passive aggressiveness?
Well, yeah, I could. Yeah, yeah. I have no comment on that.
The next one says the third rule is give fair warning. Give fair warning. Don't take your spouse off guard with guerrilla warfare tactics.
Mm,
In case you're not familiar, guerrilla warfare is a surprise attack. It's much like jumping out of the bushes and shouting, "We need to talk."
Oh, like
Because I think that brings up anxiety, and when it comes like that, I'm expecting somebody to be angry or mad. You know what I mean, or I've done something wrong. So my natural reaction is to be on defense. So that means don't let a person soon they walk in the door attack them. Right.
Exactly.
And we need to talk, and that puts them on edge. And I just walked through the door, man, or I just woke up this morning and you're coming at me, So I think we have to be strategic in those times where we like to talk. Like me personally, I do my best conversation in the bed at night with the lights out. I feel like that's when we do our best conversation. You know what I mean? That's why they call it pillow talk. Because you're so much freer in the bed, right? And it's a kind of a non-threatening type of place. You agree?
I do agree. I do agree. That's so true. When you first wake up in the morning or just coming in from work, yeah, that's just a terrible time to try and come in and try to resolve anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but and with that, you still have to have that time of uh, both being in the same mind frame where so you'll come to bed and ready to talk and then the other person's ready to go to sleep. So we kind of you still gotta navigate that and meet in the middle.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm for me, I'm a morning person, and so most people who know me know that it's hard to have a deep conversation at 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night because I can barely keep my eyes open because I get up early. You know what I mean? So you and your spouse need to establish that together, what's best and where you can both feel free to talk. And the other one is not like, oh, they're just going to go to sleep and I can't talk now. Or, you know what I mean? So, and you have to meet in the middle. You have to be able to work together and say, hey, I like to talk at night. Hey, I like to talk in the morning. Hey, let's just go get some coffee in the afternoon and with no kids and let's talk. Let's be friends.
Right. What are you talking about, Elizabeth? You don't make fun of you. We don't laugh at you. What is that all about? No, that's not Elizabeth said that.
Oh, is that Brent?
No, that's Brent said don't laugh at me.
Why? What's the question?
Why Brent? Who laughing? Do you do the passive aggressive stuff? One thing what gets to me, right? Amingo, she'll do this. Oh. She'll be doing all the passive aggressive stuff and then cook your dinner.
You scared?
And bring it.
6 years now. Wait, are you scared? You still alive?
Like we just got into a dog out, drag out fight, and here you come with some fried chicken.
It'd be good too. It'd be made with so
like,
much love.
Here, baby, here your food. While you still talking crap about me.
Okay.
Well, I guess I wouldn't eat it if I was you.
Eat at your own risk. No, but because I think I was telling some of the ladies that my grandmother and my grandfather, they would get into arguments and they've been through many. They are both deceased, God bless them, but they would get into these heated arguments, and my grandmother would still like cook his meals and set him up and make sure he had his ice cold drink or whatever, and he would be sitting there still mumbling about whatever. But I was telling the ladies that how she still, even when she made his plate, she would clean off the sides and make it beautiful for him. And when she cooked, even though they was arguing, her food was still with love because she still loved just because they was having an argument. You know what I mean? And so I think I may get that from her. You know what I mean? But I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, you're still alive.
I'm still alive, y'all.
Still alive.
I'm still alive.
It just may be a slow thing. No, I'm joking. No.
The next one, number 4.
Number 4. Okay. So mine says, be a good, no, great listener. I think he gave me that on purpose. It says, my dear brother and sister, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to be angry. That's James 1:19. Great listeners are slow to speak. As a result, they take in what their spouse is saying. When your spouse is talking to you, do you really listen or or B, begin forming a rebuttal? I wonder who.
That's what I'm doing. I'm getting ready because I've been gaining ammunition the whole time you've been talking, and soon you say go.
Okay. See,
that's an example of what not to do.
This is an example of not to do.
So it's important that we're able to hear and we're listening to each other and we're listening to one another without trying to formulate what we're gonna say next. I know for me sometimes I just forget what I was gonna say, so maybe you need to write it down. No, it gotta be awkward too, huh? If you all of a sudden start writing while I'm talking, I'm just taking notes.
That's the reason why you pick that key word and stay right there, because that's all you can remember.
That's all I can remember. I just gotta stay right there.
See what happens when you talk to each other. Now I'm starting to understand you a little bit better.
So, and I think that's important, don't you?
I do, and I feel like and with that, yeah, we have to be great. Slow to speak, quick to hear, but then even in your hearing, what are you hearing?
Yeah.
And so it's so important to repeat to the person. So what you're saying is, so to make sure that you both understand. And when I say, so what you're saying is, that don't mean start the whole sentence all over again. The whole 20 minutes you've been talking.
No, that means you need to
narrate.
You're narrating, not narrating. What's the word I'm looking for? You're
like a Cliff Note version.
I guess the Cliff Note version.
I just want to know. I just want to know
a summary.
The summary of what you just said, so that I understand, so I can reply to what you're saying, not to excuse, but just if there's something to say, because sometimes we get into discussions. I'm like, you know what, you're right. You're just right. Or I just want you to hear my point of view.
Yeah.
I love those discussions when we have to make a decision about something.
Yeah.
And it gets heated. You know what I mean? And I love how we come to the conclusion and we say, okay, we're going to do it this way. And if it doesn't work, then we'll try this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Exactly.
Even though I'm mostly right. No, I'm just teasing.
Well, I guess we have to not want to be right. I think that's not that's where we go wrong a lot, is that we're just trying to get the other person to say, okay, yeah, you're right. 9 times out of 10, that's never going to happen. That's not going to happen. You can't be waiting in an argument for the other person to stop and say, oh man, what you said right there, I understand. It ain't gonna happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of times we don't even understand what was right or wrong until maybe a day, a week, maybe even a month, or even a year later. You know what I mean? And the whole point of the conversation is not to be right, but to be heard, right? I want to be able to hear your heart and you hear mine. We don't have to worry about who's being right yet. Right? Who's right? We just need to hear each other.
I think what I like is not like I don't have to be right. I want to be understood, or just like understand why I could come to that conclusion. It may be a wrong conclusion,
Yeah.
and I can come back to the right conclusion. But I feel like I know for me, I like to be validated in what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and saying I can see your point. I may not agree with you, but I can understand how you could come to that conclusion.
Right, right.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Because when you don't validate a person, then the person constantly feels like they have to defend it. They have to keep going with it,
Right.
keep going with it, because it's never been
Because you haven't validated it makes me believe that you don't understand.
right.
And since you haven't validated what I was saying, now I'm looking at you like you don't understand. So and so you tell me a lot. You keep repeating yourself, right? And maybe that's how we don't end up repeating ourselves, is that the person says, I got that, right? And that's already been clear. But look at this other side. This is where I'm at right here. And that we're able to hear each other. Derek said, let's stay right there. That's smart, because men have to focus on one issue at a time.
That's truth.
Heard that.
No, that's truth. That is very, very, very much true. And the thing is, and a lot of times women, the reason why we go, and this is just truth, we go all the way around the mulberry bush instead of sticking to the issue, because when the other issues came up, they didn't deal with it then. So it's holding on and holding on and holding on. Or we say we forgive. Well, men do the same thing, not to put it on one sided. We say we forgive, and still we bring that thing back up when we're supposed to be just talking about this issue. Can I just talk about the dishes?
Yeah.
And in your minds, we're talking about the kids didn't do dishes. In our minds, we talk about all the other times they didn't listen. And remember when they did this, and we going all around instead of just staying. Let's talk about these dishes today.
Exactly.
Tonight's dishes.
Exactly.
Dishes I can't do nothing about.
That's right. That's good. Just a reminder, guys, the phone lines are open. If you want to call in, you want to say something, got a question, go ahead and call in. So the fifth thing, it is to seek to understand.
Yes.
All right. Proverbs 20th chapter 5th verse says, the purpose of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Wow. And that having insight is to understand where the person is coming from, not just to say that the way that they're looking at it is right, but to at least what we're trying to understand where they're coming from, and understand their heart. And I think when we look at each other and we see that where I believe that you are a person that loves me, and that you're a right-minded person that cares about me, then what we're talking about doesn't hold so much weight, because I know that you're a person that loves me. And if it wasn't an important conversation, we wouldn't be talking about it.
That's good.
Right? So we look at each other as one writer said, that I'm looking at a good faith person, right? And that I believe that my wife has my best interest. She is not my enemy.
Right.
And I'm not your enemy. So when I seek to understand, I ask a lot of questions, right? Questions that'll help me understand the situation better, to understand your point of view better, and to make sure that I'm validating you in that process, because I'm asking questions means that I'm engaged in the conversation, and I'm not just sitting there with that blank look. Y'all kids ever give you that blank look when they done did something and you're like, why did you do that? And they look at you like, I don't really know why I did it. They give you that, I don't really know why I did that look. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we don't want to be standing around like that, looking at each other like, what are you talking about? So we want to seek to understand before being understood.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
So
seek to understand better before seeking to be understood. Let's see if we can get him on now. Hello. Nope, didn't work.
Can you hear us?
No, he fell out.
Oh.
Well, if you have any questions, you have no problem getting on, just text them in the little box. So what's the next one, babe?
Okay, so I'm at
number 6.
Number 6. We kind of touched on this already. It says, stay on topic. It's so easy to get off topic when in the middle of a disagreement, the dialogue starts a rabbit trail to follow. This is especially common when we deflect criticism.
Yeah.
Deflecting criticism means to prevent criticism from being directed at you.
Wow.
Do you ever do this?
Oh man. So
Oh Lord, a memory.
it's I guess it's like this when you are I was kind of raised in where you needed to be perfect, right?
Mm.
Or I needed to be the perfect one. So I deal a lot with perfection,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm a perfectionist, and so imperfection, that's resentments. There, in that, there's depression can follow that, all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things. So when I look when someone is talking to me, and it seems like that they're saying I've done something wrong,
Mm.
then my heart automatically goes to, you're not a good person.
Mm.
You've messed up.
Right.
You made a mistake. See, you're not a good dad. You thought you were good. You're not a good husband. You thought you were good. And see, it's an irrational thought. It's
Mm-hmm.
irrational.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a
Definitely.
lot of us, we deal with this where when someone is talking to us, we automatically go to that place where, oh man, I screwed up again. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad this. I'm a bad
Mm.
that.
That's so good.
So I have to learn personally to not take those things on, to hear what's being said, um, and not go to that place that I'm my bringing my imperfections into the conversation.
That's so good because I was thinking about how when those things happen, and um, someone when I feel like I'm being criticized or we're
Hmm.
getting into a um, argument or disagreement, I'm quick to run or
Yeah.
instantly I'm not worth anything, um,
Right.
and expect you to leave. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Because
Yes.
everyone in my life have always left me.
Right.
So I've always had that rejection. So instantly, if I'm not doing something that's pleasing to you or make you feel that you have to correct me, and I may
Right.
look at it like you're correcting me like a child. And it's even to say that,
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. To say that I'm being chastised like a child takes me back to when I was a
Yes.
child.
Right.
That
Right.
every time someone left out of my life or whatever was going on, um,
Right.
it was I always felt like it was because of something I did.
Right. And you can see how easy it is when you're going through those types of emotions,
Mm-hmm.
how hard it is to stay on topic,
Mm-hmm.
because now the topic has changed in your head.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because now the topic is taking you back to a place when you were a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody ever listens to you, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody cares about you.
Mm-hmm.
And then all these different things are coming out. And I'm like, hold on. I
Right.
thought we were talking about chicken. Right?
or I or I say it's
I don't
not
know why I said chicken, y'all. I said chicken a lot today. That's crazy because
because you
we're
don't eat meat.
vegetarians. Go
Right.
ahead.
But or like you were having a discussion and I'm saying things that we can do better, and it's like you're not good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you're absolutely amazing, but man, we could do so much better in this area.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, well, I do this, and it starts to get into this place of staying. It gets off
Right.
topic, and so then you never end up dealing with
Right.
it. And even in the pillow talk,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Now you're scared to touch that thing,
Right.
because it's like,
Yeah, because now I gotta justify to you everything that I do.
right.
You said I didn't do the dishes, but let me tell you everything else I do. I did the car, I took this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did this. And so you gonna come at me with dishes? I've been doing stuff all year. Where you been?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The conversation has moved on from the subject,
Right.
and now I'm dealing with all your hurt. I'm dealing with all your pain from your
Yeah.
past. I'm dealing
Right.
with all your depression, and you feeling
And
like
we're
you're
both
not
dealing
worth
with
it.
each other stuff.
Right. Yeah, I ain't mean to say yours.
Right.
I mean, like,
yeah, we both dealing with
yours
each
is
other.
not her. I just want y'all to know that yours is
We're dealing with
the
just the little
example person.
right. But the thing in the room that we never get to the heart of the matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? And once you recognize that, hey, I'm actually talking to that wounded child that still haven't healed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know how to pray for that thing.
That's
Pray
right.
for that person. You know what I mean? And allow God to heal that person. But still, we have to be mature and come back and deal with the issue. One thing I do love about you is that you've always been like this. I remember when we was okay. I'm gonna have to go there.
Oh, what we got?
We would get into these arguments, and I would say, I just need you. One week it'd be like, I just need you to do this. I need you to hug me when I get all irate. And he would go to hug me, and I'd be like, don't touch me. Why are you touching me?
Yes.
3 months later, it'd be
I'm
like
so confused.
3 months later, I'd be like, oh, this is what you do to just make me laugh. And he would go to make me laugh. I'd be like, what is you doing? That's so stupid.
I was like so confused. I don't know how to get out of this situation. Look, so one guy, I don't know what couple told us. They said the next time we get into an argument, let one of you take your clothes off, just get naked and see if y'all can still fight. So we get into this heated argument, y'all. I'm talking about heated, and I'm realizing that I'm wrong, but I don't know how to stop this. I don't know how to get out of it. So I run in the bathroom and I take off everything, y'all. I take out everything and I come in the living room like, what you said?
All I could do was
the whole conversation was like,
I can't remember if I got mad or
consequently, I don't remember what happened after that.
Consequently, did we have another baby?
I don't know. I'm not sure what happened after that.
Okay. Well, anything could have happened after that. But just the fact, what my point was to stay on topic is that you were willing to do whatever it took, and we were trying to figure out ourselves, you know what I mean, and we're still learning and growing, you know what I mean, but you were always willing to try, you know what I mean, and that's a beautiful thing, and I've always been willing to want to figure it out, you know what I mean. It's just two people trying to figure it out together and want to make each other happy, and
that's right,
try to find a way to fight fairly, because we knew we could never stop the fighting, because it's inevitable for us to be offended or bothered by something, but it's just how to do it healthy and get your point, and authentically, and not over spiritualize, and not you know what I mean, not to and not avoid, but deal with the hard things. And we've learned to have the hard conversations.
And that's crazy, because we've seen that where people are just, they'll just throw the Bible at somebody like, well, he not being a man of God. We're in a counseling session, and she's like, well, he ain't being no man of God to me. You know, he's supposed to do this and he did that. This is what the Bible says. And I'm looking at her like, you think that you following everything that the Bible's saying? You know what I mean? So we have to be careful about trying to throw scriptures at people when we see fit, right? But then we don't want those same scriptures thrown back at us. Right. So we have to be careful with that. What's our next one?
The next one is you, my dear. It's
stop comparing. Number 7, stop comparing. Don't make comparisons between your spouse and another person. Ooh. I wish somebody would.
Okay.
Boy,
we could honestly say that ain't happening up in here.
That ain't gonna happen here. Don't you dare tell me what your last boyfriend did, or your last.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
I can't even imagine. I mean, believe me, we've said some doozies.
Right.
And it's funny because we was talking about something like this a couple of weeks ago. We was talking about just certain things, and believe me, I've said some doozies, and we've done some doozies. I've messed up many times, but there are certain things that we just haven't touched.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know if it's just wasn't in our DNA or what.
Right.
I don't know.
Because when you do that, it's a hurtful signal that tells the other person that you're not enough, right?
Right.
And you'll never be enough. You need to measure up to this person, and that's not the right thing. It's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So we don't do comparison. That is heartbreaking.
That is heartbreaking.
So resist that temptation to make comparison in your mind as well. You may not say it out your mouth, but if you say it in your mind and in your heart, you can't help but for your actions to begin to go that way and to begin to do those things. And so that's a problem.
Where are you from? Where you all from?
We're from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
No, we ain't.
Well, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Right. So when you dealing with nothing. So don't do comparisons.
Don't do comparisons. Not states.
Not states. No, I ain't never said nothing like that. Like, if you act more like a Louisiana girl.
No, he's okay. So that's not true. He didn't say act like. I cut my hair one year.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so I worked in a plant where I worked with fiberglass. And if anybody knows anything about working Um, yeah, I have been here long enough. Thank you, Jules. But so I cut off all my hair, and it was
Basically, when she did that, that was like saying, you don't want to be married no more. Go ahead, keep going.
He's so silly. So he comes home and he goes, well, you know, we don't cut our hair here in Louisiana. Southern women, they don't cut their hair. I said, well, I'm from New York, baby. We dye it, fry it, lay it to the side. It'll grow back. Man, that was the end of that discussion. He was
that
like,
was not the end of that discussion.
He said, I feel like you're asking for a divorce.
To me, that was asking for a divorce. That was like, that was like passive aggressiveness. You had moved too far.
I overstepped the boundary.
You had overstepped the boundary.
Well, needless to say, I never cut my hair again.
Amen. Amen.
Not because of anything, but I don't want to be right. I want to be married.
Amen. There we go. There we go. Number 8.
Number 8. What'd she say?
Say she kicked. She kicked who? She didn't kick me. Talking about.
Number 8. Avoid making assumptions. Fighting fear in marriage is not possible when making assumptions. More on that. Okay, making assumptions. That's it. Don't start assuming your spouse's thoughts or motives.
Right.
That's good. That is very true. I cannot.
Yeah.
Okay, it's true that we shouldn't. I'm just going to agree. But when your spouse do not talk,
right?
Okay, and you are in the midst of a fair fight. You know, we're trying to learn to fight fairly, okay? And you don't talk to your spouse. You leave room for the enemy to place assumptions there. And so that's not a fair fight. See, I remember in the military, it says, do not coerce with the enemy. So when you stop talking to me, I see that you viewing me as your enemy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, so in order for there not to be assumptions, we must communicate. Even if it gets a little heated, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
But and then once you've communicated and you've made the adjustments of however we're going to resolve that, don't go back into your own head and start arguing with yourself again about what I could have, should have, would have said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But agree that this is what we came up with and move on with it.
The brain is an amazing thing. It's a very good point you make. The brain is an amazing thing. And I don't remember how it actually went, but it was talking about how our eyes and when our eyes are seeing something, right? Mm-hmm. It sees it in black or white, but then it translates into color in our brain, right? Mm-hmm. So our brain fills in, check this out, our brain fills in the missing information. Mm. So if I tell you there's a tree outside, your brain will automatically get the colors of the tree. It'll put it in the right order. It'll put the green leaves on top, the brown. Your brain automatically does that. Your brain will fill in the missing information. So what happens is when we end up in a place where we're not talking and we're not sharing our heart, and now you're forcing the person, you're forcing another person to fill in the gaps. Mm. And that's where the assumptions come from. I don't want to assume anything, but when we're not talking and we're not communicating, the other person their brain will automatically fill in the gaps. They may not even believe everything that their brain is pumping out, but the brain has to fill in the gaps. It won't look at a missing information. Does that make sense?
You are such a great communicator. I love the way you just said that. That was kind of hot too.
Well, thank you. You guys got any questions or anything? The phone lines are still open. I keep waiting to talk to somebody tonight. I'm ready. I'm ready.
To add what?
Let's see where we're at. From Gus, should we be in charge of each other's appearance? See, you would have to expound on that. You got to expound on that. I don't know what all that means. That means you need to call in and expound on that question.
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
But before I answer it, I think, I want you to expound on it so that I don't overstep.
Right.
How much what?
She said, how many coronavirus cases are in your country? A lot. Yeah, it's a lot. I think we're the number one country right now. So we're the number one country in cases. Let's see. What's our next one?
Alberta's calling in. Come on.
Oh, there's the go. Hello. How you guys doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
It's good. What's going on, my
So
brother?
you finally can hear me, and I finally
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you all. Yes, yes. So that question was about the appearance, and you said to her, or she can't cut or do nothing to her hair, and I'm thinking to myself, my wife and myself always have this debate because I want her hair to be short.
Okay.
So she wants braids. Oh no.
You
I
say
don't
no, she
want
can't have braids?
exactly. No braids. So am I controlling her appearance?
Well,
That's the question.
let me ask this first because I think this is good. All right. What is the reason why now? Is there a reason why you don't like long hair, or a reason why you don't like braids?
Oh
Because
wow. I'm gonna answer that
sometimes,
question.
well, sometimes, right? We what's that other one we was looking at? Stock comparing number 7. So if there's somebody that was in your life that had braids or long hair, and you don't really care for them no more, and so are you holding your wife to say she can't get braids because she will remind you of some crazy person that you used to date a long time ago, and I don't need that. May be something that you need to talk about so she don't make up assumptions.
But maybe not with her.
But
am I right?
No. I'm
Okay, good. All
attracted
right.
to short hair.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to short hair. And
Yeah.
above all that, she looks great with short hair. Now, mind you, hold up a second. When I met her, my first vision of her and looking into her eyes, she had short hair.
Okay.
Right? But when we finally had words to each other, she had braids in her hair. Isn't that something? But I remember her when I first saw her with short hair. So at this time, I don't want no braids. I don't want no weave. Y'all can keep the weave right where it's at. It ain't coming up in here. I told her if she go get that stuff when she wake up the next morning, clip.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody said it earlier. They said, no, don't say that. Don't go there.
You can go there. I'm ready for you. Go ahead. Say what
the man's body is for the woman, and the woman's body is for the man.
Exactly.
Huh?
That's sexually.
So is that controlling the appearance?
But if she doesn't feel comfortable in that and doesn't make her feel at her best, but because it's pleasing to you, but then she doesn't feel her best, I mean, is that fair? Because she still got to walk around in her own skin and be confident within herself.
So this is what I believe.
So that's my question.
This is what I believe then. For me, when you cut your hair, it was a drastic change, and it was a change that I wasn't ready for.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
So we didn't really talk about it. You know what I mean? We didn't talk about it. We didn't discuss. Right. And so when I walk on in the house from, I probably was out to sea when I came home.
I think he was deployed, and so that was something that was drastic for me, having long hair to coming home and having really short hair, and also, like I said, working in fiberglass, my face had broke out so bad. I mean, I had reasons behind it. It wasn't no ulterior motive.
Yeah, but when I came home,
I can understand why.
When I came home, I felt like it was such a drastic change. Right. And so I started making assumptions. And when I was making assumptions, my assumptions was that she don't want to be married to me. And however crazy that sounds, that's where I was going.
Right.
Hey, thank you for calling in.
You welcome. Good job.
But to his question, he said, is he controlling? I don't think that he's controlling. I just think that he has a preference.
Right.
But he likes his wife hair a certain kind of way, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? It's not like he's saying that I'm gonna divorce you if you,
Right.
do this. He's saying this is what I like, and you know what I mean. And I think she looks great
Right.
with her hair short the
Right.
way it is. That's the only way I know her.
Yeah.
But I think she would look beautiful with long hair or braids
Right.
or whatever, because I believe that I know that she's stunning no matter what.
Right. And I think that's a ongoing conversation that needs to be had.
Right.
Right. So let's go on to our next one. Number 9. Number 9 is
Number 9 states,
no insults or yelling aloud.
and no breaking your own furniture.
I always want to know why people break up their own stuff. You know what I mean? That's just craziness. So the scripture in Romans 14, chapter 19, verse, let us therefore make every effort to do what leads to peace and mutual edification. So when you start going loud, 9 times out of 10, the conversation is going to get loud, right? We can't respond that way, but it's hard though, right? How do we not get to that place of
not yelling
when we're yelling at people and
how do we get there?
How do we not do that?
I think being going back to being slow to speak, it goes back to number 4, being slow to speak and quick to hear. And I think a lot of times we react. We're reactive, and when you're so used to being reactive, a lot of times, because of, I think, things that go on in our past, maybe always feeling like you're being accused of something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're already on eggshells, ready to defend yourself rather than hear. You know what I mean? So you just go into yelling because that's what you're used to, or that's what you're used to seeing. And so the only way you can't come to assumptions or anything is if you just stop and listen to what the person is saying. You know what I mean? And seek to understand what they're saying while you're listening. Not listening from a place of rebuttal, but listening for a place to understand what they're saying. You know what I mean? When you do that, then it does keep you from the assumptions and keep you from the yelling and the argument. And when you know that the person is for you.
Right.
It's for you. We have to have a teachable spirit.
Yeah.
Teachable and able to take criticism and to critique, because knowing that the person's not critiquing me in a bad way, like I'm a bad person.
Right.
You know what I mean? But critiquing me because they want to elevate me to go higher.
Definitely.
Higher in my thinking, higher in my in even dealing with my kids or
right.
life or at work. You know what I mean?
And you know what word I was just thinking when you was talking, instead of saying critique, or we could say feedback, right?
Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you for the feedback. You know what I mean? Because that's feedback, and feedback doesn't sound like, oh, you critiquing me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I also was thinking when you were talking about when we get into those places when we start yelling and pointing fingers and name calling, it's because we get into to a place where we think it's a competition.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I gotta say the next thing worse than what they said, right? So we're trying to one up each other on insults. And man, imagine the nasty ungodly things that will come out of our mouth while we're trying to get the person to hurt them before they hurt us. You know what I mean? And say this before they say it. And so that's a bad place to be. Now, I can't say that we won't yell. And see, sometimes we, especially for us men, we have a hard time when our spouse yells. But we need to also put that into its proper box. Sometimes we're going to yell. That doesn't mean that the other person is out of control. It doesn't mean that the other person doesn't love you or see, the worst thing we can do is when someone starts yelling to just say, well, I ain't got nothing else to say no more.
Right.
And then they start walking out. I'm going to the store. Now you're walking out instead of dealing with, let's calm down first. Let's talk about it.
Yep.
Let's say, hey, let's take 5 minutes. But when we just decide that we're going to walk out the door or we ain't talking no more, then we have also entered the unfair fight.
Yeah. I think the dangerous thing about that also, babe, is the when they stop talking, when they stop yelling, when they absolutely shut down.
Right.
If they've always been a person who's been vocal and shared their heart and shared the areas where they feel bothered or where things
Right.
need to get better, and they haven't had the results that they felt, or every time they did try to express themselves, whether in yelling, because maybe that's what they know, that's all they know at the time, and haven't had a chance to grow and develop and mature,
Right.
as
Right.
we all need time to do. You know what I mean? But when they stop is when you need to start being worried.
When a woman's fed up,
I'm trying to tell you.
There ain't nothing you can do about nothing you can do about it.
Tell me, I'm trying to tell you. So that's a dangerous place too. So sometimes you might want the yelling.
On the 14 says,
yes,
look to the interests of your spouse. The scripture is Philippians 2nd chapter 4th verse. It says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but to each of you to the interests of others. Right? So we look back on our 22 years of marriage. The component that led us to unfair fight has always been about selfishness. You know what I mean? A selfish thought, a selfish action. You know what I mean? Wanting to be before being heard, or wanting to maybe spend that extra money before the other person do it. And a lot of times it comes from a selfish place, even when we don't want to hear the concerns of the other,
right?
Because we don't want to feel bad, or we don't feel like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I do.
We need to be careful that what we're talking about is not coming from a place of my selfishness.
Right.
Right. That's not a good place to be. We need to do a heart check before engaging and asking yourself, are my motives right? Are my motives right? Am I being self-serving right now? Right. So those are important when we're entering into a conflict, because I'll tell you, when your motives are not right and you are being selfish, you're pretty much backing your spouse into a corner, because they have nowhere to go. A spouse has nowhere to go when they're dealing with a selfish spouse. Right.
And it's, I was thinking about, like, for an example, say you have an issue and say you overspent money, and now you need to talk to your spouse about it, because now you have these bills coming out, and if your spouse is a reactor and your spouse is a person that yells, it makes it hard to have those conversations and deal with life situations and life things that happen, and so you end up hiding. You know what I'm saying? Hiding and covering up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because then the person, they may feel that the person's going to yell at them, and so they're going to just start bashing them with their words, and you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it has,
especially if you can talk better than me.
if you can communicate better than me without cussing, without yelling, and you can, word manipulation.
And I think that's important when you have a spouse that's very well versed. They know how to talk. They know how to explain themselves. They can make another spouse feel less than by not cussing or yelling. So the other person goes to the cussing and yelling because they feel like, I can win this at least.
Yeah, that's so good.
You know what I mean? I can win this at least. So I'm not saying dumb ourselves down or anything like that. I'm saying that our passive aggressiveness can come out in our education. And that's not, we want to make sure that we're fighting fair. So we're not gonna make the other person feel stupid or try to belittle them with our words or anything like that.
Right.
So that's important, right? Even in an argument, I want you to feel respected. I want you to feel loved, and I want you to feel like you're the wife that you are,
right,
and that you're my partner,
right?
Amen.
Yes. 15. It says 15. Remember, you're on the same team.
Yes.
You and your spouse are on the same team. You married one another with the dream of facing the world together. Don't forget that.
That's right. That's right.
We are a team. We are a team.
We're a team. So even though we're having this argument, this is just a drop in the bucket of the joy that we normally experience, right? An argument doesn't signify the end of the world.
That's right.
Matter of fact, I think people that argue are in a better place than those that don't. Right. When I hear people say they don't argue, they don't fight, then somebody is checked out.
somebody has checked
Somebody's checked out, and we may be just being roommates and not even realize it.
Yep.
Right. So it's important for us to be a team and united front in front of our
Did
kids.
you hear Derek? Is that Derek?
Yeah. Don't Don't be using big words on me. So I think this was a really good lesson.
It was.
Right. I'm definitely. If you guys have any thoughts that you want to add, you're welcome to add them. Call in real quick. Let me know how you feel. I think, babe, I really enjoyed this lesson talking to you.
I did too.
So is there anything you would like to add to this conversation before we go?
No, I think I really do think it's a great conversation, and even in it, just the flashbacks of how far we have grown as individuals and together. You know what I mean? Collectively, in our communication, we're still developing and we're still learning one another, and it's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Everything. You know, when you're young, you have to discuss every single thing.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. You got to talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And then you get to a place in your marriage where, you know, you done made me mad. Or I know I done made you mad. We ain't got to talk about it. Sometimes you're like, I'm sorry. You be like, okay, got it. And we move on. You know what I mean? And so I would say to the younger couples, you know, I don't care how long you dated before you got married or whatever, that it gets better.
Right.
It gets better.
And don't be saying crap while you walking out the door. You know what I mean? Jumping in the car and thank you. So let me tell you a story before we hang up the phone.
Why it's got to be about me?
It's not.
Totally. Are you sure it's not about me?
So me and Aminga in this huge argument.
Oh, it's about me.
We're in this argument, guys. And so
gotta give y'all a story.
I yell at her, call her name, and walk out the door, slam the door. And jumped in the car and went to the gym.
Oh my God!
I was so done, y'all. I'm telling you, I was gone. I said what I had to say, and I got in the car, went to the gym, played basketball for about 2 hours. I was in a good place when I got back. I had worked out all that energy. Meanwhile, she'd been sitting in the house stewing on that word that I had called her when I had left the house.
Called me a name.
So when I opened the door, she punched me right in the nose. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
You hit me right in the nose.
I did. You called you my husband.
Yeah, but you know, thou shalt not put your hands on your husband.
Thou shalt never put those kind of names on your wife. And you never did it again.
So we have a good understanding, all right, about how to fight fair.
Yeah, we have a good
understanding. So basically, don't sneak me when I walk in the house.
But you
snuck me.
You forgot when you threw me in the closet. When you pushed me in the closet.
So guys, I really enjoyed this conversation with you guys tonight. What an amazing conversation. I pray that you guys have gotten something from it. As we get ready to hang up the phone, I want you to know that you are listening to a place where you are healed by love,
free through grace, and equipped for the kingdom. Amen.
I love you guys, and
we love you.
Please share this post with people. Share this. I pray it was a blessing. I pray it was a blessing. Please share. Please post something about it. I plan on taking your post and I'm going to put them in a collage. So people can hear what you're saying about the show.
Hey,
please.
But remind us next week to tell you about me being pushed in the closet. Please don't forget that. We got to hear that story. He's never put his hands on me, but he did push me in the closet once and locked me in there.
You know, sometimes you got to shake somebody. You just shake them. Hang on. Put a hand on. Just got to shake them. All right, guys. I love you guys.
Have a blessed night.
Have a blessed night.